You get behind the camera, I think Tom's going to get a... No, I'm joking, I'm joking. All right.
Okay, pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mr. Marnick, would you call the roll, please?
We're talking about the Rye-Town Park Commission meeting dated March 15th. Commissioner French.
Here.
Commissioner Pilla is absent for the moment. Commissioner Feinstein, absent for the moment. Commissioner Salanitro.
Here.
Commissioner Sach.
Here.
Commissioner Carvin.
He's here too.
Yep, he's here too. He's here. Wonderful. Okay, in terms of the minutes, did anybody have any comments on the minutes?
There are no minutes.
What happened?
Well, we couldn't get them done in time.
Okay. So, well, we'll go right into the Mayor French and Commissioner Sach had some recommendations. Did you want to start, or did you gentlemen want to defer to Paula first? How did you want to order
Well, I
this?
think one of the to-do items from our last commission meeting was to have the Rye Citizens Finance Committee look at the 2010 budget.
They did, and Paula had indicated that she was going to be a little bit late.
Okay.
So what we were trying to do was stack this so that the budget-related items were ahead of the budget, and we pushed her behind you guys because we know that she's going to be here, let's say 6:15, 6:30.
Well, I think a lot of... Mayor Feinstein?
Mayor Feinstein, please, gentlemen standing up.
Mayor Feinstein has arrived.
Oh, thank you.
Mary, you want to go to the automation thing first? Okay, good.
So, a lot of our recommendations tie to some of the findings from the Finance Committee. So I would suggest that we table that until Paula comes and maybe we discuss the findings of the RFP.
Perfect.
On the automation?
On the automation.
Okay.
And was Christina going to come and present on that, or I assume Dan's in the
Yeah, again, I think she was aware that she was going to be toward the end of the program, so that's maybe why she's not here.
Maybe comments from the public?
Sure. We can go, why don't we go straight to comments from the public then?
And if you want to...
You're kidding.
If I
I got you.
I'm waiting.
No, wait, time out. Goldie.
Yeah,
I've been doing this for 3 years. I think that's the first time, in 3 years I caught you by
Well,
surprise.
because all the meetings are there at the same time. How can I be at all of them at the
Exactly.
same time? I can't.
Exactly.
I usually go to the jazz band concert on Tuesday nights. Today is voting day. I mean, it's a horror story. There's so much going on. So why can't we go through the whole thing? Review and approval of something, operating budgets, or I know about that, and discuss the...
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to, since we have a little bit of time tonight, we're going to take comments from the public on 2 occasions. If there's any comments from the public to start off right now.
Okay,
Please, yep.
Let's do it. And sorry, I thought I'd wait until the end.
also do the correspondence.
Yeah, okay.
Just get that out of the way.
Okay, I brought this up before, and I think it's very important, and that's why you have to do it. I love Rye-Town Park. I love Oakland Beach. I've been there. I love it. I sit at and I usually go to the concerts in the park. I love the concerts, and that's what we have to have at Oakland Beach. Loads of concerts. Okay, and they're usually, Tuesday or Wednesday? Tuesday or Wednesday, yeah. And they're great. Everything's good. But when you put out a thing like this, it should say Rye-Town Oakland Beach Park. Because Rye-Town Park also includes Crawford Park. And it's I mean, people will not understand that it's only Rye-Town Park, which is Oakland Beach. And it's not even on here, Oakland Beach. So that's wrong. It's wrong. You show the pavilions there, it should say Rye-Town Oakland Beach Park. And then the commission, if it's Rye-Town Park Commission, should include Crawford Park.
Well, that's
because that's the 2 major parks of Rye-Town. but it doesn't do that. It doesn't do that at all. So I love going to Oakland Beach, and I love going to Rye Town Park. The only thing I'm going to ask you, please, and this is what I have to say right now. Portchester is a very low-income to a middle-income community. It has no beach. It has nothing like that. It has no park like that. We love going to Oakland Beach, but please, you have to cut back on the admission costs because we can't afford it. We can't afford it. We're a low-income to a middle-income community, but we have more off the tax rolls in a village our size than any other village. And we have 11 group homes in the village of Portchester, all off the tax rolls, which no other community in Westchester County has, whether it be a city or a village. And we're getting killed because this is the only place that they can keep buying because our taxes are so high. Our property values are practically nothing. There's practically no sale of property values in the village of Portchester because our taxes are so high. And so every time they keep coming in and buying and taking off the tax rolls, they're killing us. They're murdering us. So we need help. So please, if people want to come to the park, don't charge us high prices, please. I understand that you have to keep the park going, but we can't do it. We can't do it. So please take that into consideration and see if you can do something for the people. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Goldie. Mayor Feinstein.
Yes, thank you.
All voted, right?
Thank you, Goldie. I just wanted to clarify because you wanted us to put, Rye Town Park, Crawford Park, near the commission members, but we have no jurisdiction. The five of us up, at least you have jurisdiction, but the other,
He has a choice.
but we don't.
I understand
Yeah,
that.
for Crawford Park, even though it's located in Rybrook, which is my jurisdiction, the jurisdiction I'm mayor of, we have no say in that park at
No,
all.
it's their park.
Yeah,
But
just-
they have to understand, if this is a Rye Town Park Commission meeting that has Rye Brook and Portchester in it also, then Rye Town has to say that we're now talking about Rye Town Oakland Beach Park, okay? It's not Crawford Park, but it's Oakland Beach Park.
I think
But
actually.
this is Rye Town Park Commission, covers everything. So, something is wrong here to have the picture of the pavilions and not have Rye Town Oakland Beach Park.
I think actually maybe what we have to do is go back. I haven't read the legislation to clarify this. The legislation that was passed, which stated the name of the park. Maybe that's what we have to go to clarify
I think we
this.
have to do that on these
I
flyers.
think we have to just do
I
that.
think it's right. I think you're right. Logically, you wouldn't think that.
We have to look at that
But
again.
let's look at the legislation.
Right,
That's a
we'll
good-
look at the
good suggestion.
legislation.
Thank you, Goldie.
Mayor French, maybe we can do a 2-for-1 deal, and we can offer to take over Crawford Park, too.
I don't think
Two.
so.
We're trying
I
to
would
take
rather have the
over.
Village of Rybrook take over Crawford Park.
It's incredible.
Other comments from the public? Okay, well, I've seen Paula just come in, so I think, why don't we go to...
Bang out correspondence.
all right, sure, give Paula a chance to catch your breath.
One was related to that, right?
Well, actually, technically, Mr. Alan Beachy sent a letter in, which we forwarded. And as he points out here, he would recommend that Rye Town Park be renamed after Ogden Nash, who was a poet born in Rye, I guess. And so he has sent a letter in with his recommendation to perhaps consider renaming Rye Town Park Ogden Nash Park.
I believe you'd need an act of the legislature for that.
I would think that's true. The real reason the correspondence is in front of you is the next two items. We have another request. This is typical of the requests we get. We had brought this up several months ago, that at some point we do need to have a policy, and that is for the nonprofit utilization of Rye Town Park. The Mid-Westchester Elks Lodge, number 535, they'd like to have a Lobster Fist in Rydtown Park at one of the pavilions, and they're asking for a waiver of the fee. All right. The next piece is a little bit bigger. If you turn to page 2, what you're talking about here is this is the East Coast Greenway is looking to have a Bik-a-thon at Rydtown Park on June 5th. They're talking upwards of 100 to 200 people. They want to have booths and all kinds of things. And again, they're looking for a waiver because they claim to be a 501c3 organization. This goes with all the other various nonprofits that we have, and what we wanted to find out. For example, I know Mayor French was at least clued in on the Bik-a-thon. We're just reacting to this the same way we have always reacted to it. The policy that we inherited was that nonprofit groups would provide appropriate insurance, would provide the deposit money, and would provide proof of their 501c3 status. So we get copies of all of that. That then entitles them to what amounts to a waiver of fees. There's a significant revenue opportunity there. I know that we've been looking for revenue. Perhaps we want to consider some sort of a change in that.
Well, can I ask what the respective commissioners do in their municipalities? Do you afford municipal facilities for free, effectively for free, to not-for-profit groups?
Where we have established relationships, we will grandfather those in, but anybody new that comes forward, we are starting to ask for them to pay the fee, whether it's police presence or what have you. In the case of the East Coast Greenways, though, it's a little bit different because each village and city has passed a resolution adopting this trailway along the East Coast. So Village of America has passed it, I believe Portchester has passed it, Rye will pass it in our meeting of March 30th. So this is a culmination of the communities coming together to kick off this new supposed trailway. And so I think it's more tied into what each of the communities is doing. So I see it as an extension of that, but that's my opinion.
I think you might also tie in the conversation we've had over the past couple of years about resident and non-resident. For instance, I see that the Elks Lodge is from White Plains, so their organization is not based in the town of Rye or the city of Rye. So yet the Greenway group that Mayor French references has involvement from our communities. So that might be a distinction that we could apply as well.
Yeah, and I think that it's not just a fee issue that we have to look at. We also look at the fact that it does bear some burden on staffing in the park, outside the park. There's cleanup effort, there's waste disposal. So we shouldn't subsidize an event. At a bare minimum, they should be compensated. We may want to consider being compensated for cost that we would be bearing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once they get into the streets, obviously, the city of Rye plays an active role with that too. So there's overtime and other things like that.
Well, in this particular instance, I do want to point out that simultaneously, that morning from 8 o'clock to about 2 o'clock, the Children's Museum is having their Explorathon, which they typically take over the northern section of the park, and they have activities because they're also working, the kids are also working in playland and so forth, so they take that section of the park. The Bik-a-thon people are looking at the section of the park that's closer to Seaside Johnny's, but we could see perhaps there may be a bit of contention, but that would, for example, Explorathon brings in maybe 200 to 300 kids. The Bik-a-thon is supposed to bring in 100 to 200 people for their operation. We try to balance all of that. Again, the Children's Museum also gets a fee waiver.
How do they park?
Yeah, plus June 5th.
Well, the Children's Museum actually starts out in Playland, so the majority of them park in Playland. The Bik-a-thon, I'm not sure.
Actually, with all the construction going over at Playland now, they don't use Playland at all for all their.
Oh, Bill, could you just go up to the mic, please?
Okay.
Yeah, just. The Children's Explorathon that started back in the days when they had not been working on the bathhouse project. But now, since that's under construction, they've had all their events. Everything takes place at Rye-Town Park, basically from the Rye Beach end down to about where the mini gazebo is there by the lifeguards. So whether they could still conceivably park in the pool parking area of Playland, which I think they might be able to do, that would be up to Playland to determine whether that would be available to them or not. Or they could park at the Rye-Town Park side. I personally would recommend that if they're going to be parking at our parking lot, they should pay the normal parking fees, just because this is, what everybody else would be doing. Now, whether you want to grant a waiver of any other fee, my feeling about fees, because we've been thinking about this for several years, is that with the pavilion rentals, that it's very clear that if we give it to them for nothing, we're losing $400 or $500, whatever it is now, for $500 for fee. And if we're going to let a group use the pavilion, it would be very easy to say we will give you a flat discount if, let's say, they're a resident group, nonprofit 501c3. We would let them do it for half price, maybe, and some very clear-cut number. When it comes to using parkland, then it gets a little more complicated because we don't have any equivalent. We can't say, well, if a public group did it, because each one varies. But I think, as you said, there are going to be expenses. People are going to have to direct traffic. You're going to need rangers on duty up there, as they have done in the past. And I've been to those events, and of course, the most obvious one is the triathlon, which is coming up in September. And we've been for several years talking about, shouldn't we be charging them some kind of a fee, just a base fee, not necessarily fixing things up, like they paid us money when they damaged the lawn area. We got reimbursed for that, but just as a sort of a basic fee for the use. And I know that I've heard discussion in New York City with the marathon that the police are looking to charge some sort of a fee for the marathon because of the huge amount of overtime and everything that's involved in that. So I think this is an area where all municipalities are looking to try to tighten their belts a little bit as far as what they give away. And I think it's very fair to offer some sort of a discount, but I think it would also be unfair to the taxpayers to allow just unlimited free use.
Thank you, Bill.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I may,
please.
and if you allow me to contradict myself a little bit, certainly won't be the first time, but I'm looking...
all the commissioners have the right to contradict themselves.
I'm looking at our budget that we haven't voted on yet, and the 2011 budget projection for rentals goes up about $10,000 over 2010 actuals. I think that was based in large part on the theory that we would get more revenue by eliminating the not-for-profit exemption. So...
But we have no policy. I mean, I don't know. Personally, I agree that we have to have a policy to be able to say to this group, you do this group,
Sure.
you do that. You have groups that have already made commitments for the future based upon practices of the past. And I agree that we should re-examine the policies. I know in Crawford Park you're looking to do the same
Yep.
thing.
Sure.
But I think it's unfair at this point in time, even though I would love to have the additional revenue, to say, well, it's going to be this amount, because then we're going to lead to inconsistency. And that's just not the right thing for the commission to do. I think we have to work very quickly and in the future, in the near future, to be able to develop a policy so that it's consistent and clear-cut.
I couldn't agree with you more, Mayor Feinstein. What are you doing, Rye Brook?
Well, basically, it's the Pasilipo Center is
Right.
really the avenue, and we have a discounted amount.
You do, and what's your discount?
I can't tell you off the top of my head
Okay.
because I haven't looked at it recently,
Right,
but I will
right.
get back to you on that.
Well, I think I agree with both comments, and I think what we need is come up with a policy and then simply apply it. Does anybody want to take a crack at making a recommendation and submitting it to the board for the next meeting? Because I don't think it's terribly involved.
Well, what I will do is I can do this for you, because we have collected the nonprofit usage for the last 2 years. So we can easily forward the commissioners a spreadsheet that will list the group name, I think we have the date and the usage, the utilization, and we could just lay that out for you so you could see the number of events, the type of events, the approximate number of people related to that event. That's about all that we have, but we can kind of give you that for 2 years' worth, so you can see 2009, 2010, and however you want to put a pencil to it or evaluate it, I'll leave to the commissioners.
Well, Mr. Nowotny, if you could forward that information, as well as what it cost us to put the event on, right?
On an hourly basis?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right, what the cost of, I know that you
best we
did that
can.
analysis for Crawford, as I believe.
Yeah.
But, a different venue, but what you think it would be for the pavilion on an hourly basis? For...
Yeah,
it's a projection.
It's a little more difficult because the events at Rytown Park are so varied.
Mm-hmm.
From the Milton School Parade through...
Well, hold on. Well, let's just be clear. So first of all, for pavilion events, that should be easy, right?
Yeah, pavilion events is piece of
So
cake.
why don't we break out the memo to pavilion events and then park events, and then the park events, I agree, clearly will be a wide variety of events, and then I'll help you work on the memo. We'll make some proposals and suggestions to the board to be taken up at the next
But you
meeting.
have parking as well, that's got to go in there too, right?
And parking's got to go in there as well, yeah.
Yeah, and for the commission's benefit, typically we don't do any allowances for parking. They pay whatever the parking
Right.
is
Talked about it.
at the time of their event.
Yeah.
Basically, all we talk about is fee waivers for use of the facilities.
Terrific. Okay,
But
so
as a straw man policy,
Please.
though, if I may,
Yep.
anybody that has done it in the past, I think we should, it's March, we should grandfather those in for this season, if they've done it in the past. I can't see us changing this late date.
Well, I think that they've made the commitments, whether or not it be the triathlon or in September, in reliance upon that. That's correct, that it would have to be prospective.
are you talking about pavilion, or are you just talking about park usage?
Park usage.
Okay.
What you're saying is anyone that's already committed based upon it.
Well, what we've done in Crawford Park while we're, finalizing the policy is to, we've increased the rate at Crawford Park. So what we've done is, before we increase the rate, anybody that locked in ahead of time got the old rate.
But if you're talking fairness, obviously you don't want to pull the rug out from someone who thinks they're going to do it at a certain price. But if we are talking fairness, I think that the triathlon group is a lot different than the White Plains Elks Club as
Correct.
far as ability to pay.
Sure.
So
Because they're charging a fee.
yeah.
Right.
Well, I think we'll have a
You'll have a comprehensive
Yeah.
list of
Right.
the activities and the groups, and I think from there, some things will start to coalesce for you.
But the last piece is a staff decision. If you don't think you can handle 2 events on one day, that's your call. We're not going to know if you can handle
Yeah.
Children's Museum and ECG, East Coast Greenway, right? So if you can, then we'll have a policy on what they should pay.
So now we clearly, first of all, in terms of the Elk Club, there's the Elks Club in Rytown as well. Is it?
No.
What's?
This is
That was merged, Joe.
this
That
used
club,
to.
that club that you just got a letter from is the merged Rytown.
It's a merge. Okay.
Yeah, they closed
They go
up in
under the White
Portchester. They moved in with the White
So there
Plains
is a
group.
connect, there is a slight connection to that club. It's not like they're total strangers.
Okay. All right. So, well, there you go. So another nuance in the policy decision-making board. Are we going to, do these people, when are they looking to get this for August 3rd? I guess the question is, I think they probably could wait till the next meeting, until we have our policy. If you can get back to him, Mr. Nowotny. But in terms of the June 5th, I think we're going to have to make a decision tonight, aren't we?
I think so.
Because otherwise it wouldn't be fair to them. Unless we're ready to make a decision on the Elks Club tonight. I think I'm hopeful they can wait till. Why don't we reserve the date for them and then give them the opportunity to pull out if there's
Okay.
a charge? Okay.
Although, in fairness, $500 is not an onerous amount of money for what they're getting, especially when you consider that a group that comes in is probably paying a caterer a few
Right.
$1,000s just for food.
So,
But,
unless the board has an objection, I'd like Mr. Nowotny to get back to the Elks Club of White Plains / Rytown and explain to them that we've reserved the date, but there may be a fee charge, and the policy will be announced in April, and they can obviously pull that if they don't like the charge.
Well, he was putting a deposit in for $150, so what was that all about?
That's just a deposit.
He said, I
So
will
he's
send, he
anticipating a
has
fee.
not sent anything.
But I'm saying, but is he anticipating that there is going to be a fee while he's asking for a fee waiver?
No.
No.
So what
No.
was the $150 deposit about?
It's just a deposit if he wrecks the park.
Yeah, we,
that's the
regardless,
deposit, not a deposit towards
regardless
the
of
fee.
fee
Okay.
waivers,
Okay.
we
You still have a
always ask
deposit?
for a damage deposit,
Okay,
yes.
got it.
In terms of, and then what are the commissioners' thoughts on this June 5th event? See, this is, I didn't realize, this is a whole new,
Yeah, it's a trailways. They're trying to start from Maine all the way down.
Maine?
Yeah, and they're getting local communities. Village of America passed a resolution designating certain roads for it's a bike trailway. Rye's doing it, Portchester did it. So I think,
and it ends and culminates in the Ragtown Park?
well, no, everybody's going to start at their different locations, but they want to have kind of a celebration at Rye-Town Park. So it would be a good, so they asked me, I said, ask Bishop.
Well, we're still pre-policy, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah, no, but so what do we, but I don't think we can wait. We can't wait
Right.
till April.
Well, then you will have to keep the
Right.
policy the way it is.
Okay, fine, so we're
Yep.
approving this.
I'm good.
We're going to approve.
Okay.
The one thing that, don't we, with the triathlon, didn't they tear up the park last year and ask them to pay damages?
Yes.
So obviously want to do
And
the same
they've
thing
done,
here.
and they've done that. I mean, they've
Right.
met their commitment. The triathlon is a different animal because they take over the park for 4 days.
But just
Put up
make clear to these the bike-a-thon, I bike, so I'm thinking.
Well, that was my
Not
question.
motorcycles.
$150 doesn't seem like a reasonable deposit. Maybe some events.
Well, pavilion,
versus
as I'm
others.
saying, exactly.
Okay. Do you have a deposit that they use in the park? Is
No.
there is no
No,
deposit
we've
in the
never,
park?
we've never.
Maybe that will be part,
No
maybe that
damage?
should be
That
part of
could
the
be part of the
policy,
policy.
the revised policy as
Right.
well,
Sure.
Right.
what the deposit should be.
Perfect.
And you apply to Mr. Beachy to say that it's an act of the state legislature to change the name?
Sure. I'd be glad to. I will work with Attorney Noto, and we'll craft an appropriate response.
Beautiful. Terrific. Okay, so now let's get to the sort of the meat of the program tonight. We're going to, Paula, I'm sorry, I don't know your last name. Schaefer has done a lot of hard work and is going to make a presentation on the findings of the Rye Citizens Finance Committee. If you can come up and do that now, Paula. Thanks so much.
Yeah, if I may, in the city of Rye, we've established a Rye Citizens Finance Committee, which is like a checks and balances on the government to say, you know, these are the things that the citizens need to know about our budget. And last meeting, Commissioner Carvin, Chairman Carvin agreed that we should do something similar to the Rye-Town Park budget. So Paula is on our finance committee. She's on the subcommittee, I guess, to work on Rye-Town Park. And based on this presentation tonight, we'll also ask you to do it for the Rye City Council, maybe at our meeting on the 30th.
Okay,
Okay?
sure.
Thanks so much, Paula.
So thank you. Again, as Mayor French said, I'm a member of the Finance Committee in the City of Rye, and that's a 12-member committee that reports to Mayor French and the City Council. And we looked at really all of the budget items this year, going through the 2011 budget. And Mayor French asked me to take a look at the financial statements as well as the budget for 2011 for Rye-Town Park. And when we looked at the financial statements for September 30th, which included a projection through the end of the year, they showed a projected loss for Rye-Town Park at the time of roughly $30,000. And then it was pretty disappointing to take a look at the financial statements then later in the year in December and see that, in fact, the operations were projected to run a loss of $142,000. So it was difficult to understand how you could have such an increase in expenditures over what had been projected just a couple months earlier, especially when you're talking about a business that's essentially shut down for the season, how your expenses could be so much higher than projected. So I did take a look at that, and I had the benefit of meeting with Mr. Novotny, Mr. Terenzini, to go through that. And so I couldn't say I'm an expert on Rye-Town Park, but I do think I understand a little bit more about the financial statements and the way that the projections were made, where some of the issues are, and maybe make some recommendations about that. One of the things that I saw on the revenue side was that actually revenue came out higher at the end of the year than it had been projected to at September 30th, and I thought, well, I don't know, what happened in October, what happened after the season closed, after September 30th. That was my first thought. But actually what it is that it was revenue that was generated in April and May of the year, in pre-season. And because of the way reconciliations are done to revenue that's collected and then what's actually deposited in the